Good morning and welcome to day 64 of Geriatric 1944's Coronavirus Diaries. And I'm doing my diary today totally naked to celebrate the fact that the beaches of Greece are now open, the beaches of Spain are about to open, hopefully the beaches of France and Italy will soon be open, and I shall be on them. And I'll be on them to enjoy sun, sea, sand and sex. One of my tracks, which actually I shall be playing you during this diary, and I've got a story about, which I'll tell you later on. Coronavirus, and today it's all been all over the weekend. It's all been Dominic Cummings, the advisor to the Prime Minister. Did he or did he not drive for 30 minutes when he was with his wife and they had symptoms to test his eyesight? I can't believe how stupid the whole thing is, and we all know what it is. The media needs a good story, and it's run out again. It ran out after Brexit. It ran out with Prince Andrew, Jeffrey Epstein, and with Harry and Meghan. It ran out of all these things that it wanted to make a great story of. Then it found coronavirus, and now it's run out of that. We're all bored to tears of it. Oh, God, what do we do now? Dominic Cummings. God knows what the story will be tomorrow or the day after or the day after that. It doesn't fucking matter. If only some of the media would ask the Prime Minister or whoever at one of these stupid press conferences they give every day, instead of saying, should Dominic Cummings have driven his car when he had eyesight problems, or other such massive, important questions, sarcasm, why don't they ask him, excuse me, Prime Minister, why is this trivial virus, which for 95% of people who get it is no problem at all, which for 98% of the countries in the world has caused under 1,000 deaths, has caused 30,000 or 40,000 in only 4 countries in ratio to the population. Why is that? What have we done wrong? What have we, France, Italy and Spain done wrong? You can't blame the government because all 4 governments are different. Somewhere along the line, something's gone terribly wrong. My suspicion is that the media inflated the Wuhan infection and epidemic so much that various governments thought, my God, this is a plague, we've got to do something about it. And every government in the world examined it very closely and came to certain conclusions, and as a result, the spread of it has been not that great, and where there has been quite a big spread of it, the deaths have been tiny. The quantity of deaths have been tiny. Somewhere, most of them got it right, treated it right medically, and dealt with it correctly. Only 4 countries made a huge mistake. Why did they make that mistake? Was it because the media inflated the original Wuhan story and that they actually fell for that instead of the reality and based their reaction and behaviour on that extreme story rather than on the real story? Anyway, we won't know for several months, and they'll all investigate and all that. But by now we're bored to tears of the whole bloody thing anyway, and we're hoping to get off on holiday. We're all hoping to go and lie in the sun, lie on the sand, swim in the sea. Actually, it's a bit of a problem. We probably won't be able to have any sex. We're not allowed to be within 2 metres of anybody. And they haven't yet invented a really satisfactory way of having sex 2 metres apart. But I'm sure we'll get round that. Yes, back to that story of sun, sea, sand and sex. Most people have ignored, especially the media, because the media doesn't like stories where it actually conflicts with the main story. And the main story was 20 years ago that I was a vile pervert and I was convicted of crimes that actually never happened, all of which I am currently appealing and expecting to go back to the Court of Appeal and have all the convictions thrown out, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. They tend to forget there was a second trial, which actually collapsed I was declared not guilty in it, and then all the various other charges and claims were looked at and dismissed and thrown out. And as we now know, back in 2018, they tried another bite of the cherry and they choked on the fucking stone, I'm glad to say, and that fell apart too. But looking at the second trial, a couple of interesting things happened. One of the things that was hilarious was this awful man, whose name, by the way, was the same as somebody who I knew from the industry. And I did wonder about this. It's quite an unusual surname. I think it's turned out that the man was the nephew or great-nephew or something of the other man. And I suspect all this because I saw the person I knew from the industry sitting in the public gallery on a couple of occasions during the second trial. My brother saw him there a couple of times and recognised him. And after all the trials and everything were over, I got contact from that man asking if he could buy my back catalogue. My answer to him, as you can probably guess, involved sex and travel, so we won't be going any further with that. But either way, I may be wrong about that, so I'm not going to push it. But this man claimed the most appalling things had happened to him, including the fact that I'd taken him out into a park and I'd actually penetrated him while pushing him into a gorse bush. Can you imagine anything more appalling, let alone uncomfortable for both people? Anyway, then later on he was asked, he said, this was the worst thing that's ever happened in my life and I hated every minute of it. I hate this man and he's vile and horrible. Well, anyway, a few questions later, the counsel, I think it was the prosecuting counsel, said to him, well, he'd claimed to have come up to my house several times after this incident to have sex again. And the man said, well, the prosecuting counsel said, if you hated it so much, why did you go up to his house so many times? And the man said, because I enjoyed it. At which point, the jury burst out laughing. All members of the jury burst out laughing. Well, the judge, a man called Paget, was absolutely furious and looked at them with horror because trials are meant to be very serious places with these ghastly crimes being analysed. And there was the jury rocking with uncontrollable laughter. But the other thing he claimed, or one of the many other things he claimed, was that the first time he'd seen me was at a disco and I'd played this track called Sun, Sea, Sand and Sex. And he really liked it and he really remembered distinctly that was the first time he ever saw me, and everything else happened afterwards, and he was 15 at the time. Well, by this time, I actually, because the first trial had gone the wrong way and I'd been wrongly convicted, I was locked up in Belmarsh prison. So I couldn't do any investigating of this man's claims and the other claims that were in the second trial. So I got a friend, a very good friend, who is now one of the world's most successful film producers and directors, to go round to my house and to go through my record collection to try and find a copy of this record, because we never actually released the track. We had promo pressings, 12 inches actually, because it's a dance track. Promo pressings pressed up on vinyl. That's 12 inch. They look like albums, but they're actually a single. And we tested them in the discos, and then we never released it because it didn't go down that well. Well, the result was he went through every record. It took him about 5 or 6 hours going through all my records. He finally found a copy of it. And on the label of it was clearly stamped the year and the date and the month of when it was made, which happened to be 4 years after he claimed he'd met me or he'd heard my track when he was 15, proving that he was 19. So it was actually a record that means rather a lot to me, because as a result, all his claims were thrown out. I was declared not guilty of all his ridiculous claims. The trial was then stopped. I was declared not guilty of the other claims. All the other ones were left on file, which I didn't bother to worry about, because when I heard the phrase, one of the QCs asked the judge, "Your Honour, may these please lie on file?" And I thought, look, they've been lying all the way through. They're complete lies anyway. Let them lie on file. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but I just thought it would amuse you. And in this wonderful day of being able to be completely and totally naked, lying in the sun, on the sand, enjoying the sea, for you, ladies and gentlemen, and you can actually stream or download this, I think under the name S4 is the artist, S4, Sun, Sea, Sand, Sex, S4, and you can get it from the usual places, Spotify and Amazon and iTunes and all the usual ones, if you like it. Anyway, I'll leave you with the sound of Sun, Sea, Sand and Sex, and I'll see you tomorrow.